Good afternoon and welcome to the October 1st, 2014 meeting of the Planning Commission of the City of Glendale. May I have roll call, please?
Planning Commissioners Astorian.
Here.
Landrigan.
Here.
Lee. Yesayan.
Here.
And Chairperson Manukian.
Present. May I have a report regarding the posting of the agenda?
The agenda for this meeting was posted on Wednesday, September 24th, 2014 on the bulletin board outside City Hall and also on the city's website.
Thank you very much. Please rise and for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving to the approval of minutes.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Very good. Moving on to oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. The Commission may question the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. Have you received any pink cards?
I have no speaker forms.
Very good. Then we'll move on to item number 6, zoning appeals. We have none. Item number 7, Planning Commission items. One item of old business. Location, 1400 West Kenneth Road. I have a note here to be continued to November 5th, 2014. Is that accurate?
Yes, the applicant is requesting that this be continued to the regular Planning Commission meeting on November 5th without further public notice.
So move.
Do I need to have a second?
A second and a
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have roll call, please?
Planning Commissioners Astorian.
Yes.
Landrigan.
Yes.
Yesayan.
Yes.
Chairperson Manukian.
Aye.
Can I ask a question about that? Is that are they doing that community meeting that we asked for the last time? And if so, is that date going to be sent to us?
I don't know what the status is on that one at this time.
Okay.
Very good. Perhaps we could look into the matter if the commissioner is interested so that we can have a follow-up.
Yeah, we can let the case planner know that if there is a meeting to please let you know.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, moving on to the sole item of new business, location, Laurel Street. Do I have a staff report on this matter?
Yes, this is a request to vacate a portion of Laurel Street located between Central Avenue and Brand Boulevard. This is a request that came in from Glendale Memorial Hospital. It was actually a street vacation that was looked at back when we had an approval that went on for the Glendale Triangle project. That's a large project that's right on the corner of Los Feliz and Central. And at that time when that project was designed, the main entranceway for their parking garage fronts on Laurel. Well, Laurel also happens to be the main pedestrian point between the hospital's parking garage and the main entrance to the hospital. Not the emergency entrance, but the main entrance for everybody visiting. And at that time, it was Tom Mitchell, who was the city traffic engineer, and he suggested that we look at potential of closing that roadway. Tom Mitchell did depart. We had a number of people leave from traffic. When the traffic study was done, they did not include Laurel Street. For the traffic study was done for the Triangle project. They did not include Laurel Street in the calculation, so all the calculations assume that that street was not going to be open for additional traffic from this new development. And so the analysis was done for the Triangle project, not adding traffic on Laurel to show that, yes, the Central Avenue and Brand could accommodate the new development without using Laurel. Now we're several years later. We now have the apartments looking like they're going to open. They believe they're scheduled to open on December 15th. And there's a safety concern with having Laurel Street open to through traffic. We have known issues. There's an enhanced pedestrian crossing that the city put in a number of years ago on Laurel Street to try and make it safer for pedestrians crossing with current traffic. There's a great concern that when we add in the traffic from the 300 additional units from the project on Central, that could really impact the safety of people going into the hospital. We did I included the information as part of your staff report that talked about the trip generation and discussion of Laurel on as far as it was. I wouldn't say it was planned to be closed, but it was one of those things that they were working toward having it closed. When they were doing that project, it just never proceeded, basically because at that time we did lose a lot of staff, and it was one of those projects that just didn't go through. The hospital at that time, we didn't work with them, and we didn't work to close the road at that time. But they are coming in now. They do have concerns. City still has the same concerns, and they've asked that roadway be vacated. And the roadway with the proposal is not that the roadway would be shut, because we still have all our utilities in it would still remain a roadway, but they're asking that it be made a private street, and they're asking that they have the ability to put manned booths so they can control who goes in. So people can still go into the parking structure and still use Laurel Street for purposes of the hospital, but they want to slow traffic that would drive through. It would remain open for pedestrians. It would remain open for cyclists. It's the vehicle traffic. They want to slow it down so people don't speed through that intersection or that stretch of roadway when they go between Central and Brand. There was a question on whether or not we had traffic counts on Laurel. We don't. It's a local street. Local streets generally carry under 2,500 trips a day, although we know it is the main access to the hospital, and that would remain. You would still have people going in to park in the hospital. They can still exit on either side. They could exit onto Central, or they could exit onto Eulalia, and they could also exit onto Brand Boulevard. But what this proposal would do is it would slow down traffic that was going through the cut-through traffic, essentially. Wouldn't necessarily stop it, because you'll still have a manned booth that can let people drive through. It's the slowing of the traffic. It's traffic safety that is the biggest concern. We did have a question that came in whether or not, if we vacate the street, could the hospital ever use it to build a building on? No. It would become a private roadway. That way the hospital can maintain it. I don't know if you had a chance to go out there, but you see it's in pretty bad repair. That's just a matter of funding. The city hasn't funded the repair of it. It's on a CIP long term. It's just not time for that street to have repairs. But the hospital, if the street is vacated and the hospital takes it over as a private street, they would be maintaining that street. They would be able to upgrade it. And then the other issue that we had a question on is how many accidents were there on Laurel Street. In the last 10 years, we have over 25 accidents that have been noted by the police department. So I did call them. We did get that data. It is a street that has some concerns. A lot of the traffic accidents are related to failure to yield to pedestrians, as well as speeding. So it's a pretty typical mix of what traffic accidents would be in Glendale. But we've also included the findings according to how a vacation of this local street would be in accordance with the circulation element. So we found that it would be consistent with circulation element goal 4, functional and safe streetscapes that are aesthetically pleasing for both pedestrians and vehicular travel. It would also be consistent with circulation element traffic calming goals of reducing accidents on local streets, and with the functional purpose of local streets to provide access to adjacent properties rather than cut through traffic. The vacation would also be consistent with applicable goals and objectives of the circulation element and the City of Glendale Comprehensive General Plan. And also the vacation of Laurel Street would be intended to improve traffic and pedestrian safety for those visiting and working at Glendale Memorial Hospital. And the changing of Laurel Street into a local street will not impact emergency services, which are accessed through Los Feliz Road. And we do have a support of this project from the city engineer, as well as by Glendale Memorial Hospital. And again, all easements for roadway purposes, or all easements for public utilities, would be retained within the roadway. Even though it would be a private street, it would still have access for the public. So that concludes my presentation. There is a diagram that shows the location of the vacation up on the board, if you have any questions.
Yes, please.
Laura, on the map here, it has the City of Glendale and Memorial Hospital sharing fee ownership of the same area. Is that correct?
That's correct. Part of it is owned by the city of Glendale, part of it is owned by the hospital.
Well, those symbols aren't any different. So, which is which? Is it?
The city owns a portion of the roadway that is on the northerly half of Laurel Street.
The one that's
And-
17,511 square feet?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe
And the
that's
other
correct.
is, okay,
And then the area on the south side is owned in fee by the hospital.
okay.
But again, the purpose of this hearing is to determine whether or not it's consistent with the general plan, and any underlying fee ownership, should it be vacated, would fall under the purview of the city council. So the purpose of this hearing is just, is it consistent with the general plan to vacate a local street?
Well, may I ask one more question, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So when the vacation occurs, it still will maintain the same shared fee ownership.
Yes.
Will there be conditions when it's made a private street, that those conditions would be that the private entity will maintain that street to a certain standard?
Yes.
And there will also be the condition that no building can be erected on it?
Yes, because you still have all the underlying easements. You still have utilities, you have sewer, you have water, gas, electric. They all run down
Right.
the street. So those would be maintained. It's just they want the ability to shut the road
So it's just
to
for
through
traffic
traffic and
calming.
slow it. It's for traffic calming, essentially.
And Mr. Historian had asked a question about whether the overhead airspace would be allowable for them to build a bridge to connect the buildings.
Potentially,
So there would be no limit to that.
there would be a limit over the portion that's owned by the city, because the city's fee ownership would go up into the sky. So should there be a bridge over it, the city would need to vacate that portion, like we've done on other streets like Garfield. So we do have examples of that. We've done it for the mall. So, I mean, that there is a potential that could occur, but that's not anything that anybody's looking at this time.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Will there be any street parking taken out because of this vacation?
Parking on that street.
There's some street parking on the street.
At this point, I don't know what the street parking is on Laurel. I mean, I know there's the main parking structure for the hospital. So,
I think most
that
of
would
the parking
remain.
is closer to Brand. I'm just not sure if it goes into this project
Somebody just
area
walked
or
up
not.
to the podium.
Yeah.
I'm Philip Lansfeld, the Director of Economic Development and Asset Management. In fact, it's a red curb
Oh, okay.
from the place where we would vacate throughout that, and then on the other side, there's the garage. So there is no on-street parking currently. The on-street parking that takes place to the east, closer to Brand Boulevard, will remain.
Okay. Yeah.
While you're up there, we had, part of the report was that there's going to be booths in order to do the traffic calming. That's one of the methodologies considered. Now, where would they go? I'm looking at it and I can't quite picture it in my mind.
I don't know that we've got it exactly nailed down, but it generally, where the street is vacated,
Okay.
on either side, you would have a booth. So you come from the public right-of-way, you'd hit the booth, and then you'd be on the private street.
So the best way of thinking about it is like, imagine if the parking structure extended into the street such that the driveway into the parking structure began in what used to be known as Laurel Street.
That's a good way to look at it. It really does, though, create a campus environment.
Sure.
Because you have those gates, now the pedestrians that are moving back and forth really don't have to worry about general traffic.
Understood. Any questions from Mr. Lansam?
Mr. Lansam, I do have a question. Maybe either Laura or yourself. You know, these man booths, the way that or where they are going to be placed. My initial concern was queuing off of Central and Bryan Boulevard if they are going to be placed on the west and east side of the street. How does can somebody make sure, or would this become a traffic part when they are putting it on, that queuing will not, in other words, you're not going to want to have a have traffic backed up either on Central or on Central or Brand, as far as queuing is concerned. So,
In looking at it with traffic, they felt that there was enough room to queue the number of cars as they come through. So there will be enough. If we need more, we'll merely have them push the booth back further. But traffic's preliminary look was there's plenty of queuing space where they're going to be.
okay.
See what you did? Just by walking up?
Was there any?
I'm gonna go sit down.
Was there any plan for this street on the Tropico study that's happening right now? That area?
I'll let Laura answer that.
Yeah, we are working with the hospital right now.
Yeah.
So we're well aware of this proposal. And at this point, we're working on a traffic model for the city. We would not be including Laurel as a through street should it be vacated by the council. So the answer is yes, we are aware of it. We are all working to be consistent with what the ultimate goals of the hospital would be,
Right. Okay.
as well as Tropico.
And my last question is, and maybe it's not so related to specifically this vacation, but will there be a crosswalk from Laurel to the new Triangle project?
That I don't know. I mean, I would assume there would be because you have a light right there. But as far as I know, I'd have to go look that up and get back to you with that.
Is there a light
information,
right
'cause I
there
don't
on
know.
Central and Laurel?
I believe there is a light right there,
Is there? No, I haven't
or is
seen
it?
Philip Plans, famed director of economic development.
Might
No,
be a
in
block
fact,
away.
the light, I believe, is further back where it splits with Los Feliz. Generally, traffic doesn't like a mid-block cross, but if the circumstances allow, that is something. I don't believe there's anything planned with that Triangle project for a cross there.
Okay.
Okay. I think we are done with the questions. I don't have any pink cards from anyone to oppose this. With that, I'm closing the public hearing on this, and we can move into deliberations, unless I have a motion.
I move that upon consideration of vacation case number 177V and after reviewing the records, files, reports, and all documentary evidence submitted with regard to said street vacation, subject to compliance with State Government Code Section 65402 and Chapters 2.68 and 12.24 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the Planning Commission makes the following determination: that we vacate this portion of Laurel Street consistent with the circulation element and determination A, B, and C.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Planning Commissioners Astorian,
Yes.
Landrigan,
Aye.
Yesayan,
Yes.
Chairperson Manukian.
Yes. With that, we move to item number 8 of our agenda, Community Development Department updates. Do we have any?
No, not at this time.
Very good. Moving on to item number 9, comments from commissioners. I am dumbfounded. With that, I move that we, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned.
Second.
Thank you.
October 15th.